Hey guys, Mr. Titan here, and I'm back to review and rank SpongeBob Season 9. And about time since it's almost Christmas. Wow, I haven't sat down to do one of these since April.
Cut!
What do you mean cut?
It's not Christmas yet, yo. It's June, eh?
June? Why did no one correct me? But the hat, the shirt... You know what, screw it. I'm already too far into my intro, so I'll lose the hat, but not the shirt, okay? You know how many times I get the chance to wear this? As I was saying, I'm back to review SpongeBob SquarePants Season 9, and this is going to be an interesting one for a few reasons. First of which is the visual quality. Due to 2012 being around the time HD became the new norm, as well as when my old box TV decided to end itself, SpongeBob changed to fit it. So Season 9 became the first season to be fully produced in HD with a 16:9 aspect ratio instead of standard definition with a 4:3 ratio. Another reason this season is a particularly interesting one is the way it's divided.
If you're a SpongeBob nerd like me, you have definitely heard people refer to Season 9 as either Season 9A or 9B. That's because both halves of Season 9 are technically different seasons. Halfway through Season 9, the second SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, released and kickstarted a kinda renaissance era for the show upon major creators from pre-movie like Steven Hillenburg returning for the production of Season 9B. Meanwhile, Season 9A still mainly consisted of crew members from Season 6 to 8, and therefore had a lot of DNA from those seasons that had yet to be phased out, such as still having some offensively bad what the fuck episodes. But I'll get to that soon enough.
Now with this extra thick intro out of the way, sit back, relax, have yourself a frozen Krabby Patty. Wait a minute, don't, they're made of sand. And get ready for every episode of SpongeBob Season 9, ranked. Roll the title card.
Cutting right to the chase with this first entry, Squid Baby. Easy worst of the season and one of the worst episodes of the whole show if I'm being honest. It starts off with Squidward trying to relax and getting, as it usually goes, interrupted by SpongeBob and Patrick, who this time are acting more over-flanderized than ever by acting like babies and playing with baby toys. Not only is this weird even for established goofy goobers like them, but it's also a piss poor setup for Squidward's head injury that reverts him back to a baby. After a brief scene at the hospital that doesn't really help the plot, Squidward receives physical torture while in his baby state of mind at the hands of Patrick, especially when Patrick saves Squidward from getting hit by a truck only to drop the fucking road on his head. And to add insult to injury, Squidward's house gets destroyed by the truck for no reason other than Squidward being required to undergo maximum suffering this episode in every way. Cut to later at the Krusty Krab, and brain-damaged Squidward is expected to do his job, only to end up shitting himself. Ew. After multiple more bangs to the head and some ice falling onto him, Squidward turns back to normal in an unceremonious ending, putting this episode under smooth jazz at Bikini Bottom. While that episode was bad for Squidward, this one is so much worse in every way and makes me legit feel bad for him. Season 9 does get better than the last couple of seasons, but this episode does this season no favors. Because I was desperate to find at least one thing to like about this episode, I liked how the my leg running gag came back for the sake of my counter.
My face! My face! Also my leg, but mostly my face!
Man, I missed that counter. And Squidward's final line sums up mine and everyone else's thoughts of this episode.
Not another word about this. Ever.
SpongeBob, you're fired. From my experience, whenever the topic of worst SpongeBob episode comes up, it's almost certain to be either a pal for Gary or SpongeBob, you're fired. As you know, I'm on the side of a pal for Gary, but holy shit, the people who hate SpongeBob, you're fired got a fucking point. For First of all, you'd think an episode titled SpongeBob You're Fired would be one of the most interesting specials of the post-movie era, if not the whole show if executed right. Like, how and why would SpongeBob be let go from the Krusty Krab? Assuming SpongeBob is Mr. Krabs' most expensive employee because of his work ethic, maybe Mr. Krabs could face an ultimatum of fire SpongeBob or have the Krusty Krab go bankrupt. Maybe you could have Mr. Krabs let him go to make something of himself like Jim did. Hell, if you want to tap into this side of SpongeBob, maybe you can make SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs have a disagreement so ugly that he ends up firing SpongeBob. While all of these scenarios would have been interesting in their own right, the actual special settles for something much more anticlimactic and unspecial worthy, with Mr. Krabs letting SpongeBob go to save a literal nickel. This whole special is built off of a joke, and a pretty cheap, unfunny one at that, no pun intended. And the rest of the special after SpongeBob does get fired doesn't get any better. For one, unnecessary filler with SpongeBob's uninterrupted crying for almost a minute. Like seriously, why does this have to be so long? Then Patrick takes SpongeBob to do some unemployment activities that weren't really that entertaining. And this is definitely the most formulaic a SpongeBob episode has ever been. SpongeBob gets a job at a hot dog joint, gets fired. SpongeBob gets a job at a pizza place, gets fired. SpongeBob gets a job at a taco shack, gets fired. SpongeBob gets a job at a noodle restaurant, you'll never believe this, gets fired. Afterwards, SpongeBob makes some really good snail food for Gary, and you may be thinking, oh, SpongeBob can open his own snail food company. Well, fuck thinking that. All four restaurant owners contrivingly try to kidnap SpongeBob only for Squidward to also show up in a Krabby Patty suit, take down the other restaurant owners, and bring him back to the Krusty Krab.
SpongeBob,
Yes, Squidward?
you know I hate you, right?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Well, I hate the smell of burning Krabby Patties even more.
Okay, that bit was funny. Everything goes back to normal, happy ending, yada yada yada. You know, it's been so long since I familiarized myself with this special that I thought it wouldn't be that bad or that I'd have an almost contrarian view of it. But no, upon rewatch, it really is still as bad as everyone says. It's not the worst of the season because Squid Baby was really asking for it, but definitely the worst special of the show, putting it under Plankton's regular. Next up, we got Little Yellow Book. Fun fact about me, around the time this episode was being promoted, I was a big Diary of a Wimpy Kid fan, so this was probably the episode I was most hyped for. Definitely within the top 5. But that bears the question, what do I think of this episode today? Well, childhood biases aside, not good. This is one of those episodes plagued with mean-spiritedness and hypocrisy, but considering how low they can go with mean-spiritedness, I reckon it could have been a lot worse. Yeah, you know an episode sucks when Patrick literally eating shit is one of the jokes. But anyway, during another day at the Krusty Krab, Squidward gets his hands on SpongeBob's diary and reads the most embarrassing parts of it to the customers. It's worth noting that the customers are fully aware this is SpongeBob's diary and make fun of him. Especially Patrick, who, if you didn't know any better, could swear is actually SpongeBob's enemy if you hadn't seen any other episodes. Upon SpongeBob finding out Squidward read his diary, he runs off crying, to which everyone turns on Squidward, which is where the hypocrisy comes in. Yes, Squidward led it, but they took a part in making fun of SpongeBob too. And even after getting punished, Squidward proves to not have learned his lesson, so this episode was one big waste. This episode does have positive aspects though, surprisingly more than the average bad episode. SpongeBob's warped view of reality in his diary entry was decently funny. This episode is the originator of the mocking SpongeBob meme, and despite not learning a thing by the end, I'm glad Squidward didn't get off scot-free for reading SpongeBob's diary, even if some of the comeuppance may have been overkill. Overall, despite it being bad, I don't really hate this episode and don't think it's close to being the absolute worst. So for that, I'll put it under Pineapple Fever. Squid defense. When Squidward becomes paranoid after an alley encounter following a grocery run, SpongeBob takes him to Sandy's to teach him karate. This episode could have been fun since Squidward and Sandy interactions are rare for the most part, but this episode was just a drag. And all of this to have Squidward misuse his self-defense training to assault this poor guy who was just trying to return his groceries. Characters I feel bad for, this and that. At least Squidward got arrested for an actual reason this time, putting it under Sentimental Sponge. Next up, at number 45, we have The Fishbowl. So, our first Season 9B episode. And this was a pretty bad one if I'm being honest. Season 9B did put to rest a lot of the negative traits the middle seasons had, but this episode is one of the exceptions. Sandy, being the science nut she is, tries to study the behavior patterns of undersea life on SpongeBob and Patrick, only for them to act unnatural as fuck due to being aware of the study. This leads to Sandy taking on a new approach by hiding cameras all along SpongeBob's house and putting Patrick in charge, which goes to his head and causes him to act like the same dick he was in some of his worst episodes and was just not a fun watch. And Squidward is also in this episode. No plot relevance, just the need to screw him over and prevent him from having any kind of fun. Bro just wants some damn ice cream. Just a sour episode all around. Putting it under Roll of Dumb. Mutiny on the Krusty. Other than the obvious, this was Mr. Krabs' worst role. Mr. Krabs has had plenty of villain roles in the past, but I feel like those handled it way better while not feeling like a complete over-exaggeration of his character. Here, he is literally the equivalent of a child throwing a temper tantrum, and all subtlety and motive is completely removed.
I'll have 3 Krabby Patties. On second thought, cancel that order!
No takey backsies! Where do you think you're going? Get back in there and spend the rest of your money!
But I needed it for rent.
Why's Mr. Krabs so crabby today?
Probably because it's payday. Payday's been canceled!
Big me.
Not buying it.
Like seriously, this is closer to how I'd expect Patrick to act. Also very forgettable and not even close to what comes to mind for me when thinking of season 9. This episode was so bad I hurt my fucking leg again.
My leg!
Putting it under Chum Caverns. And that will conclude the F tier. First off, in the D tier, we have Bumper to Bumper.
Focus on the road. There is nothing but the road. Focus on the road. There is nothing but the road. Focus on the road. There is nothing but the road. Focus on the road. There is nothing but the road.
Focus on the road. There is nothing but the road. Focus on what? Sorry. I was lost there for a second. Putting it above the plays the thing.
Evil Spatula. When Plankton sabotages SpongeBob's trusty spatula, which plays out somehow creepier than it did the first time, he presents SpongeBob with a new spatula that's actually controlled by him to get the secret formula. SpongeBob was pretty stupid for blindly trusting a voice-operated spatula given to him by Plankton, but I did like how the explosive money cleaning sequence from the beginning came full circle to foil Plankton's plan when Mr. Krabs caught wind of what's going on. Other than that, I don't think of this episode too often. Putting it under Patrick's Staycation. Also, if I had a nickel for every time SpongeBob made a fax machine joke, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird it happened twice, right?
It's a fisherman!
Oh, it's just Slasher McGee.
Who? Am I supposed to know who this character is? You know what, the fact that I don't just makes it funnier. Putting it under SpongeBob's Last Stand. Next up is Salsa Imbecilicus, or as it was originally named, Idiot Sauce, but the title was changed for being too mean. As if there haven't been plenty of episodes that have idiot in the title. Hey guys! What if we made an episode where everyone just becomes Patrick? Yeah, well, what if some nerdy YouTuber puts this episode in the D tier when ranking the series 10 years down the road? Well, we're going for it anyway! But on a real note, this episode's going under the monster who came to Bikini Bottom. Next we have a special. It came from Goo Lagoon. Without trying to hate, this special was beyond mediocre. I think it's because it tries to make itself seem larger than it actually is. When a mysterious purple goo floats out of Goo Lagoon, Sandy warns everyone that's highly toxic and dangerous. And because she's smart, you'd think this would be the case, right? Well, eventually, Plankton does what Plankton does and harnesses the power of the giant goo bubble to get Mr. Krabs to hand over the secret formula, to which he double-crosses him by popping the bubble anyway. Which doesn't even harm the citizens of Bikini Bottom and is fixed as easily as by this bubble giant, who is probably the best part of the episode. Honorable mention as well to SpongeBob, putting it above the monster who came to Bikini Bottom. This probably just comes with the turf of ranking 9 seasons of a show, but my voice is so dried out that I'm starting to get reminded of the episode where SpongeBob met Sandy. I'll be right back. I need to go hydrate. That's better. Moving on. Safe deposit crabs. Yeah, funny story about this one. This is an already weird episode made even weirder by the fact that I distinctly remember watching this when I was sick with a pounding headache in January of 2020. Guess what I had? But as previously stated, this episode is weird on its own without that. The meat of it is Mr. Krabs getting locked inside a bank vault and the lack of oxygen causing him to hallucinate a dragon eating his money bride, which turns out to be a vacuum. Okay, this appears to be a running theme. Whenever something weirdly chaotic happens, a vacuum cleaner is nearby, in one case even the direct cause of it. Makes me wonder if there's a vacuum cleaner theory on YouTube. Huh. Putting it under Are You Happy Now? Seance schmeance.
This is a part of the story where I run away again. Only I don't know where else to go, so I'm just gonna go circle around the building.
This is definitely what I'd call a what the fuck episode, but with a pinch of unhinged chaos that the middle seasons didn't exactly have, which separates it from other WTF episodes. And some relatability, which I'll elaborate on in a bit. When SpongeBob tries to foster a couple of baby snails, that couple turns into a whole metric shit ton, and from there, SpongeBob becomes a fucking cat lady and starts skipping out on work to run his new at-home animal shelter. Squidward also gets impacted by allergies because of all the snails. Not really relevant, just a part of the episode I found bizarre and memorable. Eventually, Bob Barnacle, played by the late Bob Barker, shows up to take all the snails back to his animal rescue center after they escaped through a hole in the fence, resolving the episode in a nice enough way. Now for the relatability. As someone whose family once tried to take care of 13 cats at once only for it to go horribly wrong, this episode does a great job at executing the moral you can't take care of them all. Also, I swear, this episode subconsciously left a permanent impact on me at some point because whenever I get an ad for something I will never buy, let alone use, and don't feel like raising my temper, I will just say, no thank you please.
No thank you, please.
Putting it under I'm with stupid. I just found too much joy and entertainment value with it to put any lower. Kenny the Cat. This was a very strange episode. A celebrity known as Kenny the Cat, a cat who's famous for being able to live underwater due to having excellent lung capacity, comes to Bikini Bottom and soon after gets exposed for being a fraud, ending with him getting sent up to the surface by Sandy. If I could assign a word to this episode, it'd be inoffensive. Never think of this one. Putting it above the good crabby name.
I'd say you've certainly got a real nutmare on your hands.
How about nutty butter? Seems easy enough to make. Woohoo! That's delicious!
As someone who's tried nutty butter before, I concur with the previous statement, putting it under Pest of the West. Next up, we got Snail Mail. SpongeBob writes to a pen pal, but a spelling error made by Gary Slime leads to the dying pen pal believing SpongeBob knows how to fly. So SpongeBob learns how to fly to fulfill his dying wish.
I wish I could fly and see things with a different eye.
And in the end, the pen pal turns out to be Patrick, who is very much not dying and just left out the second part of his letter. While I agree this was a fun and silly episode, it was kind of just there for me and doesn't really go beyond my summary. Makes me wonder how much more or less interesting this episode would have been if it had been about Gary delivering mail or something. Scratch that. I do want to take a moment to say that this guy is my favorite background fish. I've always just liked his design and color palette and has had some interesting roles throughout the franchise. Yes, he is the one who turned into a werewolf. Putting it under I Heart Dancing. At number 32, we have an episode so extreme, it just might be the best of the series. Okay, not the best of the series, but one of the best of the D tier for sure. Extreme Spots. This was a nice way to begin the season and was a nice guest role for Johnny Knoxville. The main joke of the British guy saying extreme sports only to have it misinterpreted as extreme spots by Patrick was random and I think only really there to give this episode its namesake. My biggest takeaway was that this episode was extreme and just a fun SpongeBob experience. Putting it above I Heart Dancing. Coming in at the highlight episode of the D tier is Jailbreak. You know, I never really thought of this before, but how many times has Plankton actually been to jail up to this point? Oh, as for the actual episode, it was alright. I especially liked the setup of the jailbreak with all of Plankton's prison mates being fans of him because of his infamous science-based formula schemes and them all going back to jail because of good old cartoon logic. Just a stupidly fun episode. Putting it under Blackened Sponge. Starting off the C tier, we have Squirrel Record. In this episode, Sandy sets out to break every record in a world record book, only for it to be revealed that the book was so outdated that all the records had already been broken ages ago. Funny and unique twist, I have to say. Fortunately, it wasn't all for nothing because SpongeBob unintentionally set a new record.
Most injuries sustained while helping a friend.
Good for you, SpongeBob.
Hooray!
Say cheese!
Mostly standard, but still a good one. Putting it above Accidents Will Happen. Company Picnic. When the lack of customers and tasks to do affects SpongeBob's productivity at work, Mr. Krabs takes SpongeBob and Squidward on a company picnic. When the picnic turns out to be lame and unmotivating, at least for Squidward, Plankton shows up as part of his newest scheme. Host a company picnic of his own that's so fun that the Krusty crew will have no choice but to sign a contract to work for him. Surprisingly, this works as Squidward and Mr. Krabs both join Plankton's picnic and almost sign the contracts. But the plan falls apart when SpongeBob steps in and accidentally reveals all the luxuries were just trash disguised by holograms. Ugh, gross. I also like how Plankton's employees to hype up the picnic were just blatant ripoffs of SpongeBob and Squidward, as well as the names coming from SpongeBob's playtime sequence at the beginning. Going under the new fish in town.
The greatest company picnic ever!
Alright, enough relaxing. Back to work.
Squid Pluzone. Squidward gets invited to a gallery opening that he's allowed to bring a friend to, only to realize he's got no friends.
I wonder if I still have my receipt for this thing.
Well, other than SpongeBob, but he'll never admit that. I'll be honest, this was just a slightly above mid one for me, but that doesn't mean it didn't have many memorable moments, such as the mailman whose name is revealed to be Norton getting more of a role than ever.
Why are you so darn opinionated, Norton? All you do with your searing yet admirable honesty is drive everyone away. When's Norton's time? When's Norton's time to shine?
Squidward and Larry hanging out before Squidward ruthlessly insults him, and Squidward bringing SpongeBob as his +1 in the end, just for his narcissism to have been the reason he settled for SpongeBob at all. Just a silly one, all things considered. Going above Gary in Love. Okay, this episode is hilarious to me solely because Plankton has grown such an obsession with stealing the formula that he indirectly marries Mr. Krabs. And this episode was a fresh take on that done-to-death formula, pun very much intended, putting it above Truth or Square. Eek! An urchin! This was a fun episode. When a sea urchin comes to the Krusty Krab right as Plankton hatches another plan to steal the secret formula, he agrees to team up with Mr. Krabs to get rid of the urchin and get back to his formula schemes, which led to funny moments.
No.
Money,
Ignore that one. Aha!
Help! Get me out of here!
Poor Plankton.
Ah, who cares about Plankton? What about me restaurant?
I heard that! Send over my killer death robot, would you? No, the other one. I love you too, Snookums.
Not much else to say, this was just a fun one. Putting it under Ugh.
Suey, suey, cha-cha-cha. Suey, suey, cha-cha-cha. Suey, suey, cha-cha-cha.
Patrick Man, defender of Bikini Bottom!
This was kind of a stupid one, but I love the execution of this episode. Tired of being bored and without a purpose, Patrick decides to become a superhero after being indirectly influenced by Mermaid Man. First of all, Patrick Man's design is so stupid and ridiculous, I love it. Patrick Man's heroic deeds, if you will, were also funny.
High five! Whoa, you okay, man?
Just remember this. Violence solves nothing.
Oh, sweet dollar, bounty crabs.
Halt! Patrick Man is on to you. Thief! Stealing is bad! This dollar shall stay on the sidewalk where it belongs.
Hey, $1. This must be my luck day.
The reveal that the recurring old lady was actually the Dirty Bubble also recontextualizes this one scene from Shuffleboarding with her and Man Ray.
Why, hello, Ray.
Mabel! I haven't seen you since high school.
Say, could I borrow some of your detergent?
Why, certainly. Anything for the gal I went to the prom with.
Also, while Mermaid Man Begins is my spiritual send-off for Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, this episode was their final speaking roles. Rest easy, Ernest Borgnine and Tim Conway. Putting it under Love That Squid. Next up, we got the executive treatment.
I would like to submit my official report.
You know, kid, we need somebody like you around here.
You do?
For me to fire.
Underrated one-off character. The episode was also decently entertaining despite taking place primarily in an office meeting room. I'd recommend giving it a rewatch. Or first watch if you gave up SpongeBob before season 9. Going above Cracked Crabs.
What happened to prisoner 665321?
Let's go home, SpongeBob.
Okay, but who are you?
Typical.
SpongeBob Longpants. I'd be lying if I said this episode didn't remind me of an earlier one, but hey, it went in a different direction, so it's all good. And it was just another silly experimental idea used to its full potential. Season 9B has done a great job with these kind of episodes so far. When SpongeBob gets a pair of long pants, everyone starts to see him as more mature to the point where he moves from working at the Krusty Krab to the SS Fancy. He even gets his boating license despite performing the way he usually does.
Lock your doors, bar your windows, it's the end of the world!
After acquiring new friends who are some of the most stereotypically boring people you could imagine, SpongeBob tries to ditch the long pants in order to see a new Mermaid Man movie with his actual friends, being unable to until Mr. Krabs helps him. I love how SpongeBob is the type of cartoon where a simple change of pants can change everything. Not once, but twice. This one's going above Reef Blower.
And I'll be driving to work.
Wait a minute! Oh, no you don't. Not with those short pants.
I don't know what that was all about, but I'm glad it's over.
I wonder what's on TV tonight.
I'm Nick Fishkins, and I want to buy your home. Sold!
What the hell? Why do I do this to myself? It's going above ditching. Gary's new toy. When Gary can't stop chewing on everything around the house, SpongeBob decides to give him a red ball as a chew toy. Simple concept, but they don't stop there. Upon Gary becoming absolutely obsessed with the ball to an almost creepy degree, and SpongeBob eventually trying to wean him off of it, Gary accidentally bites him.
Gary, how could you? Gary, how could you?
SpongeBob then gives him an ultimatum. It's either him or the ball. Gary chooses the ball, so SpongeBob runs away. Who Bob what pants, am I right? Upon Gary getting hungry and realizing the ball is sentient and out to hurt him, okay, he goes to reunite with SpongeBob. I also like this one joke payoff.
Hairball. Hairball. Wallet. Darn it, I thought I lost this. And I just canceled my credit cards.
Hello, little nematode. Will you be my friend? Natta boy. No, that tickles. Hey, my wallet.
Good thing I canceled those credit cards.
This was a cute yet chaotic one. I just love SpongeBob and Gary episodes like this. Putting it above Rodeo Days.
Do you smell something burning? Hey, look, isn't that your ball?
Next up is License to Milkshake. As someone who loves a good milkshake, adding this episode to my list of most delicious SpongeBob episodes. Not that I'd ever actually turn that into a list. When SpongeBob forgets how to properly make a milkshake for a customer due to being well out of practice, Mr. Krabs sends him to the Milkshake Academy. I love how cartoonishly serious they take their milkshake making. Captain Frosty Mug was a great one-off, especially with the build-up from him being just as frustrated with SpongeBob as Mrs. Puff for not getting the hang of using the milkshake machine, to the backstory of he himself having trauma with using milkshake machines and getting harmed by it. Upon getting saved by SpongeBob, Captain Frosty Mug grants him the wisdom that milkshakes are truly made from within and not by a machine, to which SpongeBob applies that knowledge literally back at the Krusty Krab and redeems himself with the customer, getting bestowed a new milkshake license soon after by Captain Frosty Mug. This was just a fun episode, putting it above Grandpappy the Pirate.
If only it were this easy to get a boating license.
Yeti Crabs. Okay, this episode was produced during Season 9A, but I feel like it fit right at home in Season 9B, which it technically could be considered since it actually did premiere after Sponge Out of Water, but I digress. This episode just had a silly idea that was used to its full potential. When Mr. Krabs gets frustrated with Squidward for slacking at work and blatantly trying to get fired, he tells a tall tale of a Yeti crab who eats lazy employees to motivate Squidward to get off his ass and do something, and SpongeBob to work harder than he's already working. This scare tactic only works on SpongeBob.
Because of your proximity to Squidward's laziness, you will be eaten.
Squidward and I are as close as brothers.
Ludicrous.
Mr. Krabs then takes off for his break, but then,
by sheer coincidence,
an actual Yeti crab pays a visit to the Krusty Krab, to which Squidward calls bullshit and tries to rip the Yeti crab's costume off, assuming it's Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs then comes back, to which the Krusty crew get captured and tied to the grill, where SpongeBob pieces together that the Yeti crab isn't hungry for lazy workers and is just hungry for Krabby Patties. So SpongeBob prepares some emergency Krabby Patties to satisfy the Yeti crab into letting them go. Fun episode. Putting it above Squid's Day Off. Layman Fortune. As someone who loves fortune cookies and even owns a golden fortune cookie, story for a different day, I really liked this episode. When a crate of fortune cookies fall off a ship into SpongeBob's backyard, SpongeBob decides to share them with everyone at the Krusty Krab, which Mr. Krabs eventually signs off on. After seeing all the excitement over the fortune cookies, Plankton replaces all the actual cookies with ones crafted by him to drive the customers to his restaurant instead. Eventually, Mr. Krabs opens one of these false cookies and it straight up says he'll die if he doesn't give Plankton the formula. SpongeBob, not wanting to lose Mr. Krabs, heads over to the chum bucket to do just that, only for the major traffic at the chum bucket to interfere and piss off Plankton so much that he screams out it was just another ploy by him and all the fortunes were fake. I also like the ending. Felt like a callback to Wishing You Well. Don't know if that was intended or not. Putting it above Growth Spout. Also, my leg!
You will soon injure your legs. My legs! I was looking for an excuse to get out of jury duty. Thanks, Fortune Cookie!
Larry's Gym. Let's go, another starring role for Larry. Happens once every few seasons, but now it's his time to shine again. And it's probably the most meaningful role he's had, period. When Larry opens his own gym to Bikini Bottom, he quickly falls out of shape because of all the paperwork he has to review, taking time away from his workouts. Meanwhile, SpongeBob becomes so buff that he can't work at the Krusty Krab anymore. And to the point where Larry wants to put him in charge of the gym due to being a shell of his former self. It's kind of sad. Both of them bummed out with how their lives turned out. But fortunately from there, the episode resolves itself as it's revealed that SpongeBob wasn't actually buff and was just overhydrated. You know, being a sponge and all. And Larry gets back to his ripped shape by a few simple sit-ups. If only it were that simple, I'd be fucking ripped by now. I also liked Mr. Krabs' few cameos here, putting it above New Digs.
What is that smell? Mr. Krabs, how long have you been in there?
I think I'm done. Would you mind rubbing a little butter on me?
Wait, didn't I?
There's 2 of them!
Ah, Tudor sauce. When SpongeBob fails yet another boating exam, which affects his work performance, Mr. Krabs takes it upon himself to help SpongeBob learn how to drive to get him out of his funk, which I have to say is very fatherly of him, though this crab sure as hell didn't know what he was getting himself into, as proven by the constant destruction of his restaurant and the bill he gets for it. He was pretty chill about it for someone so obsessed with money. I like his patience here. As a last resort, Mr. Krabs takes SpongeBob to a double roundabout and lets Gary demonstrate to him how to navigate the road, only to end up having to go to boating school for letting a snail drive the boat. Funny ending, and not the last time we'll see him in boating school. The comedy was also on point.
I'll have 1 Krabby Patty, please.
Okay.
Upsell!
Would you like fries with that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Better. Me eyes! What are you doing, Mr. Squidward? Ah!
I couldn't find the smelling salt, so I just used table salt. You missed one.
I'm married to my job. Oh. Well, you two seem very happy together.
Well, we've had our ups and downs, but after some couples counseling, we think we've worked out our issues.
Also, I saw this episode when it first premiered, and I've always wondered why the hell does Squidward just start assaulting this guy? Going under, the algae's always greener. Next up, we got Plankton's pet. After yet another failed formula scheme, Plankton wants to get his mind off it, to which Karen recommends he get himself a pet. And what does Plankton get? A dog-like amoeba who he names Spot and is, quite frankly, absolutely adorable. After teaching Spot some standard tricks and doing things dog owners usually do, Plankton gets the idea to send Spot out to retrieve a Krabby Patty, which goes successful, only for Spot to eat the Krabby Patty. This angers Plankton into giving Spot a timeout outside, only to immediately have second thoughts since he can't stay mad at him and realizes Spot has gone missing.
Why, Plankton, what's wrong?
I lost Spot!
That's terrible! Gary lost me once. I was cold, alone, starving. It was the worst 8 minutes of my life.
Small nitpick, but they could have used this to reference the single best SpongeBob episode. Just saying. After some danger at the animal shelter while looking for him, Plankton and SpongeBob find Spot hiding on Plankton's cornea. Sweet twist. Spot then scares the animals back into their cages and saves the day. This was a sweet episode. I know SpongeBob isn't a show about character development and it doesn't need to be, but I love seeing the side of Plankton that legitimately cares about something other than ruining Mr. Krabs' business. And I love how this wasn't just a one and done since Spot shows up in future seasons. Putting it above Squeaky Boots. And just like that, we're done with Season 9A. This was a pretty unique episode. Pearl is a character who doesn't get many focus roles, and in fairness, I can see why. She's a character who'd quickly run out of stories if overused, but this is a very good episode for her. The setup of Pearl wanting a job after all her friends are too busy to hang out with her due to being at theirs was decent, and her eventually getting a job at a place deep in the mall called Grandma's Apron from a sweet old lady named Beatrice was wholesome. And I liked seeing the side of her that embraced old person activities even at the expense of her friends making fun of her. Gave a little more depth to her character. After a funny form of torture with Beatrice telling Pearl's friends a long, boring story, they apologize for making fun of her and Beatrice tells Pearl that it'd be best for her to go off with them, citing that she's only young once and doesn't want to miss out on the fun of it, giving a nice full circle ending. This was also a unique episode in the sense that SpongeBob didn't have a role outside of a cameo at the end, which just shows me how strong the cast is even without him. This was also a good guest role for the late Betty White as well as Aubrey Plaza. Damn, season 9 really was a season of celebrity guest stars. Putting it above Big Pink Loser. At number 10 we have Goodbye Krabby Patty.
Goodbye, see you later, so long.
The first special to come out in the post-sequel era, and I have to say, while not being the best, hell, look at what it has to compete with. I thought this is a good, memorable special that removes problems a lot of the past specials have had, such as having enough substance and storytelling to actually fill a 22-minute episode. When SpongeBob and Patrick run into Mr. Krabs while he's shopping for a frozen meal, SpongeBob gives him the idea to make frozen Krabby Patties for the convenience, and in Mr. Krabs' case, the money-making opportunity of it. So after a pitch meeting with a businessman named Don Grouper, the first advertisement starring Patrick take place, and Don tells Mr. Krabs that he could quadruple the money he's already going to be making from frozen Krabby Patties if he changes the formula, which Mr. Krabs agrees to. I might be seeing something that's not there, but I've always interpreted this action of changing the formula to great success as being kinda like a metaphor of some of the past specials. You know, ones like Clash of Triton, A SquarePants Family Vacation, SpongeBob's Last Stand. Ones that didn't have enough substance to actually fill a special and mainly consisted of filler, but still came from one of the most successful shows and succeeded that way. They also literally call the sand put into the frozen Krabby Patties filler, so yeah, food for thought. Back to the episode, SpongeBob and Squidward get fired due to Krabby Patties being mass-produced in a factory now and the Krusty Krab no longer needing active employees. I mean, SpongeBob does get a new position as the tour guide for the Krusty Krab Museum, but yeah, doesn't hit the same for him. With SpongeBob and Patrick feeling sad about not getting to spend time with each other anymore due to Patrick having to star in the same commercial 400 times, as well as the rapid changes their lives have undergone, SpongeBob reveals to Patrick that frozen Krabby Patties are made of sand and tells him to listen to his heart.
And your stomach.
So at a shareholders meeting, Patrick reveals to everyone that frozen Krabby Patties are made of sand, returning actual Krabby Patties to Bikini Bottom and setting everything back to normal. This was definitely a strong special, and stuff like the shorts tied to this episode and the plankton bit were fun. For the record, I wish we could have gotten to see his reaction to the reveal that frozen Krabby Patties were made of sand. I know for a fact he would have been fucking livid. Putting it above Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost.
Patrick, the game!
Wow.
As someone who loves board games, this was just a fun episode. Trying to make something new, Patrick uses elements of many other board games to make a game of his own, and has SpongeBob, Sandy, and Squidward over to play it. I love how everyone gets lucky in their own way, except Squidward, who constantly has to go to jail as karma for sarcastically bashing Patrick's game, as well as Patrick just making up the rules. In the end, Squidward loses his shit, destroys the game, and goes to jail for destroying private property. This was just a stupidly fun episode and the perfect episode to turn your brain off to. And if you're going to inconvenience Squidward, I'd say this is the way to do it. But I do have to wonder, has anyone ever attempted a real-life version of this game? Yep, putting it above Face Freeze. At the highlight of the C tier, we have Pineapple Invasion. After another secret formula scheme involving a skunk, which surprisingly doesn't even break into the top 20 grossest moments of the show, Mr. Krabs gives SpongeBob the formula and tells him to hide it in his house for a security measure. Through cartoon logic, Plankton listens in on this conversation and tries to steal the formula when SpongeBob isn't home, only for Gary to be 2 steps ahead and constantly foil Plankton, eventually even using Kevin McAllister-style traps. Coolest pet in a cartoon. Eventually, Plankton enters Gary's shell, speculating the formula is hidden in there. And I have to say, the visuals of this scene were creative as hell and give me Squidward and Clarinetland vibes. Which is fitting because all these visuals were the result of hallucinations. Just a fun role for Gary, and it was nice seeing him as the main foil for Plankton instead of SpongeBob or Mr. Krabs this time around. And Plankton having a "my leg" moment was a fun take on the running gag.
Chew toy!
Both characters are voiced by Mr. Lawrence, by the way. Also, Season 10 does amplify this, but this is the first episode I noticed that made the characters more cartoony as opposed to even earlier this season. With Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob wearing SpongeBob's limbs in place of their noses when the Krusty Krab is covered in skunk spray. Just something I noticed as an observer of the show's style changing over time. Putting it above Best Frenemies.
I finally got the formula! It's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine! Open the sparkling apple juice, Karen! Daddy's bringing the bacon home!
So, I find myself in the B tier again, and sooner than I found myself with Season 8. First episode I'll be taking a look at is Bulletin Board. I've heard some people say that SpongeBob shouldn't use new technology as it removes its timeless charm, and while it's never been something I really cared about nor paid attention to, I definitely agree that this episode wouldn't have been as fun or clever if it didn't use a bulletin board in place of actual social media. When SpongeBob puts up a bulletin board in the Krusty Krab for customers to put reviews on, everything goes well until a user named P*7 starts leaving mean notes on the bulletin board as the equivalent of a hate comment. I wonder who that could be. Eventually, the bulletin board community gets derailed as P*7 keeps leaving negative reviews. Wanting to get to the bottom of this, SpongeBob, Squidward, and Mr. Krabs stay after closing to catch this anonymous user in the act where it's revealed that P*7 was Patrick. Who could have guessed? Upon SpongeBob confronting him on this revelation, Patrick says his notes weren't meant to offend and were misunderstood. Which, I'm sorry, I don't buy for a second. I've seen enough reels to know Patrick is the biggest rage baiter of the show. But yeah, this is a fun idea that hadn't been tapped into before, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was one of the episodes that caused the people turned off by the middle seasons to give SpongeBob another chance. Also, it was nice to see Bubble Bass officially back, especially because this was an episode that parodied troll comments. It would be a crime to have an episode like this without him. Putting it under Bubble Stand. Next up, we got the whole tooth. When Patrick gets a pain in his tooth, SpongeBob takes him to the dentist where he is revealed to have one last baby tooth that has yet to fall out. But Mr. Titan, Patrick already lost his last baby tooth in an earlier episode. Well, I didn't ask. Plus, I'm pretty sure that episode is non-canon. With Patrick hesitant to let his baby tooth go, SpongeBob tells him about the Tooth Fairy and how it sends all the baby teeth to Tooth Island. But Patrick still refuses, even after being kept up all night and being unable to properly eat Krabby Patties. To add some stakes to this plot, I guess, Squidward calls bullshit on the Tooth Fairy much like how any grounded adult would and makes a bet. If SpongeBob and Patrick can prove there is such thing as a Tooth Fairy, he will eat a bucket of chum. One chase and moment of gross out later, and Patrick agrees to go to the dentist and have his tooth pulled by Dr. Mundane. That night, Patrick puts his tooth under his pillow to get a visit from the Tooth Fairy. SpongeBob then tries to take Patrick's tooth only to get exposed by Squidward, which saddens Patrick. SpongeBob then proves there is indeed a Tooth Fairy by taking Patrick and Squidward to it. And it's literally a Tooth Fairy. You know, like the cruise ship. Just a funny play on words. Patrick then says goodbye to his personified tooth and Squidward has to eat chum. And I have to say, this is a nice enough episode to end the season. This episode's going right above Bubble Stand. 2 thumbs down. After winning a thumb war with Patrick and realizing how good it feels to give people a thumbs up, SpongeBob overuses that action to the point of literally breaking them, resulting in a depression and a pretty good song. After his thumbs recover, SpongeBob heads back to work to reclaim his fry cook job from Patrick, resulting in another thumb war which SpongeBob wins in a nice full circle moment.
Personally, I'd give this episode 2 thumbs up. Ah shit, my thumbs! See what you made me do episode? See what you made me do!
Putting it above Mermaid Man Begins.
Why don't you put up a barrel, me laddies?
When Mr. Krabs decides to close early due to slow business, a bad storm arises before an eager Squidward can go home. Oof, poor Squidward. This plot setup is kind of reminiscent of Pineapple Fever, but I am happy to report that this episode did it much better than that one did. With the Krusty crew being trapped inside because of the storm, Mr. Krabs gets reminded of his Navy days of when he was the head chef on his ship. No, not the SS Diarrhea. There have been many main casts inserted into flashback roles at this point in the show, but I think this was definitely the episode they had the most fun with it. Such as Patrick as the intimidating Captain Scarfish who hates Mr. Krabs making delicious food for the crew due to not wanting to soften them up in the midst of battle. Which sure had its funny and entertaining moments, as Patrick being in a role like this was almost impossible to take seriously.
Snap out of it, man!
My personality!
Oops, let me put that back.
And when Mr. Krabs gets thrown into the brig for going against Captain Scarfish's orders to make the food disgusting, we get SpongeBob and Squidward inserts as the guards.
Gee, Mr. Krabs, that second guard sounds like a real goofball.
Sandy was an odd yet funny insert for the pirate captain considering she can't breathe underwater, but there is a headcanon fix. Last year, Mr. Enter of all people made a really good analysis video on Mr. Krabs, and in it, he theorizes that the pirate was actually a whale, aka Pearl's mom, and Mr. Krabs used Sandy as the insert to withhold sensitive information about Pearl's mom. What helps the theory is that there was clearly a flirtatious vibe between them. I'd recommend you check out Mr. Enter's video. It's one of his best videos, honestly, and does a great job at explaining Mr. Krabs as a character. And as someone who likes it when Mr. Krabs' backstory gets further explored, I loved this episode. It's going above I Had an Accident.
What are we all winking about?
I don't know.
Breaking into the top 3, we have Lost in Bikini Bottom. This was the first episode to be produced after the sequel, and damn, what a return to form and leap out of mediocrity. The opening even feels like a new beginning, and the overall vibe just feels more on par with pre-movie and the earlier parts of season 4, honestly. The plot also had that simple charm with SpongeBob overcomplicating his standard walk to work by using a shortcut that just gets him lost. Ironic. I also have to applaud the visuals. Not only do the characters just look much more lively than they have in a long time, but the backgrounds when SpongeBob gets lost are great and do a good job at giving a I'm not supposed to be here feeling. Most of the jokes also do land here.
There is always a shortcut.
What moron told you that?
There's always a shortcut.
2 nickels? I need a dime.
You guys open? I have coupons. Buy one, get one free.
Oh, no. It says buy one for a fee.
Oh, I stand corrected.
Don't get me wrong, it's not the best episode ever, but after reviewing many seasons of mostly mediocrity, you just notice and appreciate an episode like this. This one's going under Help Wanted for reigniting the magic, much like that one started the magic. In the runner-up spot, we got What's Eating Patrick. This was a fun and really great Patrick episode. Mr. Krabs gets Patrick to compete in a Krabby Patty eating contest and trains him to eat faster by not taking the time to taste in order to make a profit. Eventually, the time of the contest comes along, and it's probably the highest the stakes have ever been in the show.
Hey. How's it going?
Feeling sad about not having been able to actually enjoy the taste of a Krabby Patty while training, Patrick wants to drop out of the contest, but is convinced to stay in by a bill for all the training patties, and a little boy with a broken leg rooting for him, which was a pretty wholesome motivation, not gonna lie. 999 patties later, and the 2 contestants are tied with Patrick at a low point before SpongeBob remotivates him by telling him to remember the taste. Then, in a satisfying wrap-up to the competition, the little boy lets Patrick have his Krabby Patty, which he savors the taste of, winning the competition and bringing the belt back to Bikini Bottom, giving a grand end to a grand episode, putting it above Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 4. Also, I just love this file photo. I need to use it out of context sometime. 49 episodes later, and we're down to our number 1 spot. My favorite episode of SpongeBob Season 9 is Sharks vs. Pods. When a gang of greaser-like sharks adopt SpongeBob as a member after seeing him mop the floor in an especially badass way, SpongeBob soon after grows concerned as red flags stack up. Women fainting at the sight of them, a fruit vendor giving up all his fruit to them, being banned from a nightclub for a previous disaster. After being challenged to a showdown by a rival gang known as the Pods, SpongeBob hesitates to show up, but realizes he has to when the sharks take Gary. Upon SpongeBob showing up, all the red flags are revealed to have been funnily explained misunderstandings, and the showdown is actually a dance-off and not a fight. And the sharks only took Gary to act as their DJ. Once again, coolest pet in a cartoon. And it was nice to see Squidward part of something with the pods after previously getting screwed over with other groups. But let's get away from that episode. We're here to talk about a good one. And you could tell the crew behind this episode were in a referencing the pilot mood, because we not only got a look at SpongeBob's gym again from the exact same angle as the pilot, but also the hydrodynamic spatula. And there was just so much stuff in between that made this episode stand out as something great. The Kung Fu Rock song also made this episode iconic, putting it above Pickles.
Now everybody's a winner!
I didn't win anything.
At last, the entire season, or 2 half seasons separated by a movie, ranked worst to best. So I've done a summary for every season so far, but this is the one I'm most looking forward to because I've just got so much to say. First of all, no build up. This season is going above season 5. I finally found a season that didn't just slowly tread back up after the downfall, but managed to exceed expectations and rank alongside the 4 classic seasons. But in another world, the season could have not been that good. I mean, look at the first half of season 9. It definitely gave us good episodes like Plankton's Pet and License to Milkshake, but for the most part, the episodes were just standard, as in just there. And those 2 aforementioned episodes didn't even go above C tier for me. There was also Squid Baby, which was an easy bottom 3 episode of the whole show and definitely made the season a bit worse overall. I think another problem with season 9A was that it didn't have the strongest identity. It just felt like an HD season 8 to me, and I think if the second half went like the first, I'd rank it under season 8. Fortunately, season 9B picked up the slack and started giving us better episodes. A good amount. I'd consider some of the best of the show. At least good enough to fill up the B tier and fit well within my top 100. I attribute this to many writers from pre-movie returning, including the creator Steven Hillenburg, and the show becoming script-driven, starting with Lost in Bikini Bottom, which I have no doubt has allowed the episodes to be better written and more strategically thought through. In other words, there may be a few bad episodes from here on out, but they're no Squid Babies or Pal for Garys. Now to the visual quality. I'm not sure if it was an increased budget, the new staff, most likely a mix of both, but the animation and characters themselves are just so much fun to look at again. Everything here just looks much more alive, like it has more love and soul to it, you know? I don't think the character designs were tweaked a whole lot from season 9A, but definitely enough to make a noticeable impact. All of this to say that season 9 for me is definitely defined by its second half.
And that was my review of SpongeBob Season 9, aka my longest one yet outside of the first 100 episodes review. And I don't think that one should count because that was 5 seasons put into one. This was just 1 season. Like seriously, this ranking totaled to almost a damn hour. Man, I need to hibernate from the show for a little while after that. Good thing it's winter.
Still June.
Shut up! I'm a YouTuber. It can be whatever time I want it to be. If you enjoyed this ranking, please like, subscribe, and comment to let me know what you think. And until next time, this has been Mr. Titan. Have a good day, night, or whatever right now looks like for you. One last good look at the shirt before I put it away until it's actually Christmas. There you go. Stay chill.